Current rate of soil degradation is suggesting that we only have about 60 more years of topsoil that is left. But are we able to get to sustain our lives even further? And the results is that there is soil erosion that is taking place on our land, which is like 10 times faster than we could replenish our own soil. So when we get to degrade the soil, what happens is that we're degrading the very foundation of our own civilization. Hello, Samson here. Welcome to today's segment of book reviews. There has been some delays, procrastinations here and there concerning the books. Well, yeah, I was waiting for my eyes to heal, so I am in my new glasses now. And a lot of 99 other things that happened. Today's segment focuses on an interesting book that's by Josh Tickell, Kiss the Ground. So this is actually a practical guide to the most single powerful solution to climate change, and that is regenerative agriculture. In my head, I thought I had reviewed this book, but then after I read it, I realized that I did not do a book review on it because it was like some sort of a long read. So there are 7 major lessons that I got from the book, and in today's segment, that is what we are going to focus on. And diving right into it, the first lesson is the fact that soil is the foundation of life on Earth. And we've been discussing this for the most part, that most of us actually get to walk on Earth, on land, without even realizing what it is that we are stepping on, what we are standing on. But soil is not just dirt in itself, it's a whole living ecosystem that lives there and gets to sustain our lives in the actual sense. Soil is an inert substance. It is a living community of billions of organisms that live within it, and that seems to make actually plant life possible. So when we get to degrade the soil, what happens is that we're degrading the very foundation of our own civilization. So actually what Josh says is the fact that soil just might save us, but are we willing to save it? The second lesson is that modern agriculture is destroying our soil, and the emphasis has been done on a couple of occasions and times. So Tickell actually traces to the history of industrial agriculture from Nazi Germany, where the Haber-Bosch process, when it came to actually the manufacturing of synthetic nitrogen, amongst other chemical weapons, came to be perfected. This was in the era of like the Second World War. Technology was actually performed and repurposed for farming. So today in the US alone, and maybe even other parts of the world, there is a lot of spraying, even up to billions of pounds actually, of herbicides, fungicides, and insecticides into our crops on an annual basis. And the result is that there is soil erosion that is taking place on our land, which is like 10 times faster than we could replenish our own soil. And a rough calculation gives us the fact that the current rate of soil degradation is suggesting that we only have about 60 more years of topsoil that is left. But are we able to get to sustain our lives even further beyond the 60 years? So the way we farm today is literally destroying our resources, and we depend on the food that is needed for us to get nourished. This isn't sustainable in whatsoever way. The third lesson I depict, and that is brought out from the book, is that regenerative agriculture can actually reverse climate change. So Tickell introduces something that is interesting, like 4 to 1,000 initiative, which was launched by the French agriculture minister, which is Stephanie Lefort, in the 2015 Paris climate conference. So the math is like very simple. He says that if we increase the carbon content of the world's agricultural topsoil by like 0.4% per year, we can offset humanity's annual carbon emissions. And the whole point is lying mostly in the sequestration of carbon back in the soil, because once it is brought back in the soil, we're able to hold more water in the soil and get to reduce soil erosion. And the takeaway is that regenerative agriculture isn't just about being less bad. In the actual sense, it's about actively healing our planet. And soil can pull carbon out of the atmosphere and get to store it for centuries. The fourth lesson that comes as a result is that cows can be part of the solution. Conventional wisdom says that cows cause climate disaster, and this has come in as a result of electric vehicles as compared to the emission of the fossil the cars that we use on a constant basis, and that cows emit a lot of methane as compared to just cars. And the argument has gone on even up to the coming in of like EVs. So now we are taking carbon from the atmosphere through photosynthesis into the planet, and then through the planet into the root system, through the plants rather into the root system, and it turns humus to build our topsoil. The takeaway therefore is that the problem is not cows in that sense, but how we get to raise them, how we manage them properly, and livestock in that sense can be a powerful tool for restoring health soil and by sequestrating carbon. The fifth lesson that comes out is that your food choices are your most powerful tool. Tickell makes a radical but simple argument that the food that you eat on a daily basis has like the power to change the world, and that anything else that you do. So in the United States alone, about 80% of crop acreage is planted with just 4 crops, and that is corn, soy, hay, and wheat, and only 2% is planted with vegetables. Now the result is that the average American gets only about 12% of their calories from vegetables, and most of them actually comes from potatoes. Meanwhile, about 63% of the calories come from processed foods, which are derived like from commodity crops, which is not sustainable and not healthy for you as an organism. Therefore, the takeaway is that our planet reflects our agricultural system. If we want to change how food is grown, we have to change how we eat. So our food choices get to affect the agriculture that we do. A regenerative diet in the actual sense, which is more vegetables, less meat, and then food that is grown without chemicals, is what is going to be a powerful personal action that you can take in order to regenerate climate on Earth. Lesson number 6 is that compost is black. Anyone who's doing agriculture, growing whatsoever form of crop, they get to refer it to as gold. Carrots are orange gold, cabbage, lettuce is green gold, tomato is like a red gold. Compost is black gold for farmers. So there is math which is done here, where about 650 tons of food scraps in San Francisco is collected on a daily basis, which is converted into compost for the most part, and then it is sold to vineyards and farms where it gets to build soil fertility and it sequesters carbon, which is a good thing to do. If such practices could continue, then we could regenerate our planet on a very faster rate. So compost is a critical tool. It is not just enough on its own, but instead we need to rethink the whole entire system that is behind it, using nature's own processes to build our soil across millions of acres. And the last lesson, number 7, is the fact that we have about 60 years of topsoil left, but it can be fixed. As alluded to earlier on, the reality is that the sobering truth rather that comes about, and that is confronted head on with scientists, is that scientists get to estimate that at our current rate of degradation, we only have about 60 years of topsoil to live on, but there is hope that we can fix it. So there are farmers like Gabe Brown, these are from like North Dakota, who are working towards regeneration and attraction of carbon into the soil so that we could just have our climate on Earth restored. The takeaway is that the crisis is real, but the solution is actually within reach. If we could engage into regenerative agriculture, then we know exactly what to do. And then the question is whether we are going to do it or we're just going to continue to use things that get to degrade our soil. So this is Kiss the Ground by Josh Tickell. It is a very long read, very insightful conversations which are in the book, and a lot of insights that come as a result therein. So yeah, if you're interested in regenerative agriculture, regenerative organic agriculture, and just saving the earth and the soil itself, this is a good read for you. Till we meet in the next segment, I am checking out.